So I don't want people to get the idea that I just wear the same outfit for every video, but this Man Like Dries hoodie is really warm and it's cold out there. So you will have to bear with me for wearing this for the foreseeable future. Hats, I've got no excuse for. I just like the hat. But it's cold out there. It's cold in here. So I've got to stay warm. Yeah. Hello and welcome to FTTR. I am Hugh McQuaid and today we are talking about NXT No Mercy 2023, the reinvention of the No Mercy concept as an NXT premium live event featuring some heavy hitting matches like Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo Hayes and Tiffany Stratton versus Becky Lynch. Did it deliver? Before we dive into that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts on the show down below and I'll try and reply to every single one of them as we talk about a really good show. I thought this was really good. I think it was one of the closest NXT events that I've seen almost live up to like the glory days of TakeOver. I thought this was fantastic for the most part, and every match on the card, while I had issues with some storytelling or maybe some booking or maybe just the in-ring work, I think they were good enough that I came out of this show really excited to watch the next NXT event. So I think that's only a good thing. NXT seems to be back on the rise, back on the boil, and we are getting incredible matches, match of the year contenders throughout. But before we get into that, this is my review. I'm going to talk about all the angles, talk about the matches, talk about my general thoughts, the way a review does, starting with probably the best opening video package ever, throwing back to WWF No Mercy, and it was just cool. The way they'd animated the characters, they'd animated the graphics to make it look like you were selecting your players as it went into the history of the matches and the feuds was just awesome. Awesome, really creative, and I wish the main roster did this more, to be honest. The main roster is so generic compared to the stuff like this that they do on NXT. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was genuinely like a stroke of genius to do it that way. Loved it. I'll probably remember that forever. But the opening match we got was Bron Breakker taking on Baron Corbin. In what I am going to say, I'm going to plant the flag right down, the best Baron Corbin match of all time. Now, I know that is a stretch. I can't think of any fantastic Baron Corbin matches. My only sort of reference point for Corbin matches is his god-awful feud with Seth Rollins and Constable Corbin and Kurt Angle. I can't think of a match that I thought was legitimately this good. I thought this was really fun. Goofy at the beginning. Baron Corbin coming down on his big chopper, big motorbike, and scooting it along. That looked funny. That looked ridiculous. But these two went out there and just had a war. Essentially, they had a big man plunder destruction match, which I thought was really good, and they brawled into the crowd. Started off with really hot with Bron Breakker doing a huge dive over the top rope, and then just sort of escalated from there with Bron Breakker showing just how athletic he is, and Corbin to that extent. Corbin hit a diving senton from the steel steps onto the announce table. Okay, sure, we'll go with that, Corbin, we'll go with that. And yeah, like I said, Bron Breakker just being a really big beefy beastie boy hitting Frankensteiners, top rope Frankensteiners, because he just can. He's great. Love Bron Breakker. I think he's really come on from the early days of NXT 2.0, and it got a little bit messy to begin with, or sort of in the middle. They sort of lost the way a bit and it was a little bit messy. Some of the spots weren't going as cleanly as possible, and Bron Breakker looks like he's going to do a big spear round the ring, runs round, and a huge sort of choke bomb from Corbin plants Bron Breakker through the announce table, and Bron Breakker sells it for a little bit, but then just sort of sits up, dead eyes Corbin in the back of the head, and then we get a really cool just ending sequence leading to Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone, as not a weekly NXT viewer, Mr. Stone, I believe, is partnered with Von Wagner, who got murdered by Bron Breakker, and he causes distraction for Bron. Baron Corbin hits the end of days, one of the best finishers in WWE, and gets the win. Corbin has beaten Bron Breakker. Really cool, and I'm really happy for Corbin. Corbin was getting chanted. I've never heard a Baron Corbin chant in my life, but there were chants for Baron Corbin at NXT No Mercy. First time for everything. But this was a really, really fun match, and one that got me more invested into Corbin. I can't believe that. I genuinely think Corbin is underrated. His moveset is fantastic. He hit an insane deep six on Bron Breakker, which looked beautiful. So we'll see where this goes from here. Probably into Von Wagner. Maybe a three-way match between Corbin, Wagner and Bron Breakker. We'll see. This was a really fun and hot way to open the show. Then we got Trick Williams versus Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American Championship with Dragon Lee as the special guest referee. This is probably my low light of the night. I know it was a big moment for Trick Williams, but I thought the match itself was a little bit sloppy and a little bit Like, Dominic Mysterio's good at the heel shtick, but I just don't think he's that great in ring and that intriguing, and it just sort of went the way that I thought it would, apart from the finish. So, ref bump, Dragon Lee goes down from a super kick from Dominic Mysterio. Another ref runs down, gets a near fall. Lots of visual pins as well from Trick Williams. That ref gets clocked again by Dominic Mysterio, and then we're in a position where there's been about 3 visual pins for Trick Williams. So, like, okay, Dominic Mysterio is going to retain by shenanigans. Maybe Rhea Ripley's going to come down. But no, so Trick Williams rolls Dragon Lee back into the ring as Dominic Mysterio goes to hit him with the North American Championship. Williams ducks it, jumps and hits a flying knee onto the belt, into the face of Dominic for the 1-2-3. Trick Williams is the new NXT North American Champion. I think this was a really cool finish. I really like this, the way, obviously, it all backfired on Dom. And I think this is going to lead to more Judgment Day stuff where there's going to be a lack of confidence maybe in Dom, because Dom can't win without the help of others. He didn't have any of the Judgment Day backing him up here, and he lost. I think that's interesting, and we'll get into a little bit more of what's going on with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes when we get past Ilya Dragunov. But yeah, I thought this was a fine match, not the blow-away standard that I was expecting from an NXT event like this. Then we got Fatal 4-Way Tag Team action for the NXT Tag Team Championships as the Family took on OTM, took on the Creed Brothers, took on Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. This was an awesome match. Like, genuinely really good. I think the issue with this was the injury angle. So in the middle of the match, Tony D'Angelo goes to lift both members of, I don't know, are they still called Los Lotharios? I'm just going to call them Los Lotharios. Goes to lift and double suplex both members of Los Lotharios, and he crumples down on his knee. Crumples down and falls. The ref then stops, I believe it's Garza, from attacking, and then he gets rolled out of the ring, which is what made me think it was legit. Like, I get, like, injury angles happen like this, where the ref checks on him, but to immediately push him out of the way, stop, and signal for people from the back to come down, I thought was interesting. I genuinely, legitimately thought he injured himself and that we were going into unknown territory. But going by what happened in the match, it seemed like it was all an angle. But I think the injury sort of took people out of it. It made it feel like, okay, we need to reset. They're going to do something with the tag titles. But it was just executed too well. Tony D'Angelo just injured himself too well. Like, I haven't been on Twitter and seen if he was actually injured and then came back, but the way it rolled out looked like it was an angle. And the action that we got with Stacks just being worked over made me think we're going to change direction. He's going one-on-one and they're just going to have to call an audible and change who wins. But no. Tony D'Angelo makes his way back down. He's got a knee brace on. And then you get into the final stretch of the match with the Creed brothers just doing insane things. A huge springboard cannonball from one of the Creed brothers. I can't remember which one it was. I believe it was Brutus. I think it was Brutus Creed. Huge springboard cannonball with stuff of beauty. And yeah, then we got into the finishing sequence, and Tony D'Angelo and Stacks had a member of OTM isolated in the ring, and they hit the bada bing, bada boom for the 1-2-3 and retained. So this was actually a really fun 4-way tag team match that I just got taken out of by the injury angle. I think that's the danger of doing injury angles, is if they seem too real, it can take you out of the match. And it really did take me out of the match because I was worried for Tony D'Angelo. But we'll see where this goes. The Creed brothers are main roster ready. Los Lotharios are just fantastic. I don't know why they're not like tag champs somewhere in WWE. I really, really loved like this match. But that one angle put a damper on it for me. But yeah, I can't not say it was a class match. And you should probably go out of your way to see it. Then we got a British Rounds rules match for the NXT Heritage Cup as Noam Dar took on Pete Dunne. So let me get my rant out of the way. You know what rant is incoming. Why is he still called Butch? And I can explain why it infuriates me so much. Because he's literally squaring off with people from NXT UK who all have the same names. Noam Dar, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Tyler Bate. All have the same names. And why is he still called Butch? Please change it back to Pete Dunne. When they had the match graphic of Gallus versus British Strong Style and it was Tyler Bate and Butch, I was just like, just change it back. Gunther, okay, we ranted about it. That one's fine. I can finally get on board with that. I can never get on board with Butch for Pete Dunne because it does not work in the slightest. Please, dear God, change his name back to Pete Dunne. Even if you have to do Pete Butch Dunne or Butch Pete Dunne. Anything. Just please make him Pete Dunne again. Please, dear God. Rant over. Let's talk about the match. The match was actually really, really fun. It feels great to see Pete Dunne wrestle because I don't feel like I've seen Pete Dunne wrestle enough, not on the main roster, and going back to an NXT style. Oh, it was beautiful. It was goddamn NXT UK joy for me watching this match, seeing Noam Dar versus Pete Dunne, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really fun. I love the British Rounds rules strategies. I really loved the way the matches are executed and put together in the 2 out of 3 falls kind of way that they do. And it usually works in a similar way where the heel will get the one up and then the babyface has to claw the way back. Really crisp looking bitter end from Pete Dunne to pick up that second fall. Looked beautiful. And yeah, from there, it just kept going and building till they got to the final round. The final round was where it all came down to, and that's when those bastards Gallus came down, attacked Tyler Bate. That was enough to get the distraction of Pete Dunne, and from there, Noam Dar picked up the win with about 30 seconds left to go until it would have been a time limit draw. Really well executed. I love Noam Dar's gimmick, metaphor, are really cool, really annoying, and yeah, I think it's really cool. I really like that Noam Dar's getting this spotlight. Really good win, and I'm happy that Pete Dunne is staying in NXT a little bit more. It's not just a one and done. I'd like to see him wrestle. Essentially, I just want to see him wrestle because he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, really cool British Rounds match for the Heritage Cup. Then we got probably match of the night. I say probably. It's a toss-up between two dual main events, if you will. But Ilya Dragunov took on Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. I don't know if I liked this as much as their Great American Bash encounter, but my God, it's close. This was awesome. Just awesome. Ilya Dragunov is on the roll of a lifetime in his run in NXT. Dijak, and now these two with Carmelo Hayes are just absolutely fantastic. He knows what he's doing in terms of storytelling, and he knows what he's doing in terms of in-ring work. And when you put him in there with someone who's as good as Carmelo Hayes, you're going to get magic. I really like the callbacks in this of Ilya scouting Carmelo, particularly with the Coast to Coast, where he went for the Coast to Coast. Carmelo went for the code breaker, stopped him, powered him up for a huge Death Valley driver into the corner. And it was just mental. The near falls in this were insane near falls off like the H bombs that Ilya was doing that came so close. A really nasty looking cutter from Carmelo to the floor looked brutal on Ilya. Ilya was busted open. He busted open right on his forehead, and he looked awesome. He just looked awesome. And I like that this match, primarily, I can't really think of a lot of instances where it went out of the ring. Majority of this was just in the ring. It was just in ring, beating the piss out of each other, as wrestlers would do. No plunder, no tables, nothing. They were just destroying each other. And it eventually came down to a top rope H-bomb from Ilya Dragunov to Carmelo for the 1, 2, 3. And Ilya Dragunov is the new NXT champion. A long time coming, because my God, he's been in the NXT system for a while, and I'm so happy for him. I want to see him have a lengthy ass run with that belt. I think he is a ready-made champion. Give him a year and a half with the NXT championship, call him up to the main roster, and your Gunther feud is waiting. He is money, absolute money. And Carmelo, I think, going from here, there's going to be some friction between Trick and Carmelo, maybe a heel turn from one of them, because we've got a sort of a post-credit thing after where they were embracing in the locker room. I don't know if that was just an error and it was supposed to be after the Ilya match, but yeah, after that, we'll see where that goes from here, and I'm very, very excited to see what Ilya does as NXT champ. And there are a lot of dream matches. One in particular, I want to see Brian Pillman Jr. versus Ilya Dragunov. Make that happen. We've had the vignettes for Brian Pillman Jr. and I can't wait to see what he does either. There was a vignette on this show for Brian Pillman Jr. and I'm excited for that. Ilya Dragunov NXT champion. Thank the Lord. And then we had our main event for the NXT Women's Championship as Becky Lynch defended her championship against Tiffany Stratton in a match that was a barn burner. It was an awesome plunder-filled brawl, but the first sort of 10 minutes or so, I thought were a bit ropey and a bit sloppy and a bit all over the place. There was really nice brawling into the crowd, some really nice weapon plunder spots in the opening bit, but it just felt very janky. And sort of something else I felt about this match was that I felt like Becky got nowhere near as much offense. Becky got way more in than Tiffany Stratton did. I was watching just thinking, oh, Becky's beating her up now. Becky's having this cool spot with the trolley. Becky's having this cool spot with the kendo stick. And Tiffany Stratton didn't really get a chance to fully shine, I don't think, in this match. It felt so much about Becky delivering this punishment to Stratton that when eventually Stratton did hit her moves, I was like, oh, okay, you are still in this match. You are. That was maybe just my reading of it, but I felt like she didn't get enough. The spots she had were awesome, and they all came right at the end, like the handspring through the barricade, or the 2 diving swantons, one through a table and then one just to Becky, were cool. The bag spot needs to be talked about. Don't tease thumbtacks in front of crowds anymore, WWE, because we will just get disappointed. When Becky held up the bag, everyone was like, yeah, and then she poured out a load of Barbies, which funny, but the fans were like, oh, okay, just stop teasing it now, we got a barbed wire bat, I suppose, that was cool, but yeah, don't tease thumbtacks if you're going to do that. The ending sequence I thought was awesome, a really cool flurry of offense from Tiffany Stratton, who looks like she's going to pick up the win. She goes for moonsault, hops up, lands on a chair, manhandle slam from Becky onto a stack of steel chairs for the 1, 2, 3 in what was an awesome match. I don't think this was as good as the steel cage match, which is one of my favourite matches of the year from Becky, but it was a really strong main event. Personally, I probably would have had Ilya main event the show. That match I thought was superior to this and just worked better in terms of story and the way it was put together. But that's not discrediting these two. I think they had a really fun brawl. It just won't be on sort of my match of the year contenders. A really strong main event that was maybe harmed by being a dual main event. So yeah, that sort of capped off NXT No Mercy. A really strong show for NXT. I think they're on a really good run at the moment. They are hitting match caliber, particularly for the NXT Men's Championship, out of the park. And storyline wise, doing some interesting stuff. NXT is sort of that sleeper hit that's growing and growing and growing. Overall, I give this 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed my time with it. A lean 2 hours and 40 minutes as well. Beautiful. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on NXT No Mercy down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.